Hello everyone, and welcome to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason. A top level game that I found for you today. It was actually submitted over on the Discord channel. Most of the matches I cast are. If you're interested in seeing your own games over there, the very best place to send those matches on over is the Discord, of course, link down below in the description section. And today, we're going to be watching a pro level 5v5, very mostly pro level. There's some lower OS players in this game here as well. Maybe the heroes for some of you out there on the ladder, certainly my favorite to watch. But we also have some of the best of the best going to be playing here as well and showing off the top tier small team gameplay. Is 5v5 small team? 5v5 might be the other side of the cusp to large team games. Yeah, maybe 4v4 is small team. I don't know if there's a hard set limit. I'm sure there is because, well, there's a leaderboard for it. But 5v5 still feels like a fresh, different game. It feels very different than 8v8 because most of the maps are going to be played 8v8. So it means that 5v5s mean at least 2 commanders, if not 3, are going to get extra economy. And that's very interesting. And I'm very curious to see how our blue commander is going to deal with that. Our blue hero today, leading the blue charge, is going to be the 45 open skill, 45.83 open skill hero. Spawning as a beautiful armada commander right here. Going to be playing on the front lines. It's a commander that goes by the name of C3BO. C3BO of the DME clan with silver chevrons and quite a lot of open skill as well. Going to be showing us what they've got. Sending out one of these early chicken bots to try and reclaim a whole bunch of stuff all across the field. Spawning on the other side is the red team leader. Let me just reverse the camera around here. There we go. I'm loving this camera. This is actually so much fun to use this camera. It feels like I can get into the action a lot better here. We have Synth Seer, the red Cortex commander here, going to be a 40 open skill. And showing us what they've got is a core commander going for a little bit of core bot shenanigans. Now, I like that a lot in this map. Core bots make a lot of sense, and in fact, just bots in general make a lot of sense in this map for a couple different reasons. One being, there's tons of reclaim out and about on this map. If we activate our metal vision here, we should eventually see the metal nodes popping up here, maybe, eventually. Well, you can see them right here in the trees and whatnot. They have, oh, actually no metal in those. No metal in the ferns and stones. That is a bit strange. There are these little rocks with just a little bit of metal. But yeah, apparently there is only so much metal on the map to reclaim. A lot less than I originally thought. Well, still, though, reclaiming all those trees is going to be tons and tons of energy back to these commanders. And especially for core units when they have to produce those super heavy energy-dense units, like, for instance, their core T1 bombers. It makes a lot of sense to try and get some resbots out to try and reclaim all that. That's one of those things that can make that very, very easy, is just having 2 or 3 resbots providing a whole bunch of energy back to the commanders in play here. Looks like a couple of ticks have managed to sneak through to the backline. A very cramped fight right here as we take cover behind the tree, but those are ticks eventually going to be blasting down. Wow, the construction bot finally got a good angle of that at the very last second. Construction bot does fall right there for the hot pink commander from the 2 ticks. That is a brutal hit right there. And indeed, the hot pink commander, Kyle, does exclaim, for freak's sake, into the chat as yeah, losing that constructor really burns. At least the mechs didn't fall, though. Claiming the mechs is quite nice. We were probably hoping to go grab these mechs in the backline right here, but that will not happen at this point, as, yeah, all of a sudden that constructor needs to either be rezzed or reclaimed. Looks like rezzed will be the option here, as Sincere helping out a teammate by going ahead and resurrecting that bot so that they can continue their expansion. Meanwhile, a blitz has come across the field here. 2 pawns should be enough to clean that up. Mismicroed right there by the tank commander, and you really can't afford these early mistakes like this. Luckily, there's enough units in the backline. Oh, he snipes the resbot, though. Alright, I'm going to say that was worth it. Resbot are 110, and the blitz is about the same cost right there, so pretty much an effectively fair trade. That is a bummer. These pawns, well microed, should have been able to kill that blitz. It never should have been able to reach into the back and kill this resbot, let alone do a bunch of damage to these pawns and all that sort of stuff, so. Bit of a bummer right there. Not the end of the world, but it definitely hurts, and those little advantages can snowball into massive advantages later on. That's one thing that all of these commanders will be familiar with. Not all of them the, you know, 40-plus open skill mega gamers that we've come to know and love, but all of them should be well aware of at the very least, the bottom mechanics of the game. 3 chevron, the minimum here, for Gilbert Bystander, the tan commander on the red team. 17 open skill and 4 chevron here for the, or 3, is that 3? 1? No, I think that's 4. No, it must be 3. But that's 3, I don't know. I thought the silver chevrons were 5, but maybe that's 6. Either way here, a slightly higher player, what is it, hour count in the game for our Seafoam Green commander on the blue team. Now, like I said, this is a 5 versus 5, and on this map that is normally played 8 versus 8, that does mean, of course, that some of these commanders are going to have a lot more metal. So I love to see that we're sniping those expansions, because if we deny that advantage, then, well, effectively you're playing with the player down. C3BO in a load of trouble here, too. Oh my goodness, 7%. Can we do it? Oh, the very last shots from those grunts managed to take down the blue commander. What a huge snipe right there for a Kyle. Okay. Well, this match is off to a ripping start now for the hot pink commander. Despite the early loss of the construction bot, which should be moving now, I'd like to see that requeued. We're not going to send about 1,000 metal back to the bank right here to go ahead and use to pump out some thugs. All right, well, let's just leapfrog the economy forward by a step. All of a sudden, the hot pink commander is in a fabulous position. Going to eat up all this metal, not worried about overflowing it to team. That's what it's there for, the team that is. And, yeah, going to be going ahead and, well, capturing the hearts and minds of the red team all over, as this advantage can certainly become a bigger one. The orange commander, now completely free of pressure on this northern side, has all the room in the world to move forward with the rocket bots. We just need a couple of units to follow this up. I wouldn't even mind seeing like ticks or pawns, anything lighter to follow this up. Ugh, yeah, at the moment, I mean, that is kind of a bummer right here. I mean, can we just trade? Yeah, okay. This is not a terrible trade right here. The pink commander has the reinforcements coming up. We already have the res bot here as well. Yeah, they decide to hug it out. These commanders gonna make peace.
Destroyed.
Beautiful. Beautiful trade right there, and yeah, Resbot will be sniped by the reinforcing forces here for the blue commander. The LLT in position to try and defend against some of this as well. Energy stall is brutal for the hot pink commander, and we do have the Resbot in position here for blue as well. So, okay. One commander for two. It does put the lead in the favor here of the red team. The blue team down to 3 commanders, the red here at 4. But that's a, well, the 1,000 metal back and then 1,000 metal up from the second commander means that the blue team comes out ahead of this trade in mid, actually, here. All of a sudden, the commitment to the grunts, or the thugs, rather, looking like the wrong decision. Yeah, having more swarm on the field here eventually what actually ends up winning the field for the blue commander. Not to mention a fabulous E-scaling. Oh, it looks like most of these units were actually donated. Yeah, this is an Armada commander playing with grunts, which can only mean that most of these units were handed over by a teammate right here. Now, this is nice. We have a little bit of a run by the purple commander. I mean, we have a swarm of grunts right here. Can we micro these? We're busy microing this on the front line, certainly. It's detected, but far, far too late. Yeah, these grunts are just sitting there idle. That's a bummer. This has the potential to do huge amounts of damage. The LLTs are queued up here as defense. We also have pawns rolling out of the laboratory. Likewise, going to be trying to get in a position to defend here. LLT, oh, they're just skirting the edge. That is huge for the LLT there, actually. All said and done, I don't think that yellow run-by actually did as much as it was probably intended to. LLTs all over the place here for the purple commander. Actually locking down mid nicely with them. And with the commander as well as the LLTs. Whoa, what is that? Yellow commander gets jumped right there. Yellow and green trading out. Okay. Tank commander has units in the position here to actually continue the pressure, though. We have the mace and, well, Rocketeer here as well. I don't think we want to be throwing the Rocketeer away, but the maces should probably start engaging his LLT as well. Ugh. Little bit sloppy. Little bit sloppy. Nothing into the world, but just light little things, right? Things that you can clean up. Things that in a normal game, a lower skill game of yeah, 8v8, I would pretty easily dismiss. But in a game this high skill, and especially when you have fewer players, every mistake you make is magnified, right? It's increased ever so slightly just because of the fact that you represent a higher percentage of the team. Still, though, most of the metal being reclaimed right here, which is lovely stuff. These bots will eventually fall, but already the majority of the metal in total has been reclaimed from both of these corpses here, so that's lovely. And the yellow commander has the operandus upon them to defend this lane. What are we going to go for? We have nowhere near the build power we need. Oh, no. Yeah, we're having a huge build power issue. The blue team not having build power issues at all. You can see the blue commander scaling nicely into several construction towers, all focused around the one laboratory. We're spamming out pawns all over the place. We have resbots up and running, a huge map presence. All of a sudden, the yellow commander is wondering, where on earth are all my units? Well, they don't exist. The metal is tied up in your bank account, and it's not being spent on the field. And now a gigantic swarm of grunts is headed forward towards the base. I mean, this is about as good of a position as you could hope for here. A retaliatory strike as the grunts make their way across here, paying back for the yellow grunts that went across earlier and didn't manage to find any value. We'll see if these grunts manage to. They're not spread out perfectly, but that's all right. They're still in the backline. They're still hitting valuable targets. I mean, that is all the build power right there. Yeah, he should be relieved to see no construction turrets here. It means that this base is nowhere near as developed as his own. We have quite a few construction towers available here. Actually, not spending our metal either. At this point, I would wonder if we go into a T2 laboratory. So much positional advantage here. You just use the resbots to eat all this metal up, and that's a very quick T2. Vehicle transition here for the blue commander. Looks like we are eventually going to head into, looks like blitzes for now. I was going to wonder if we were maybe ready for medium tanks. Usually you want about 25 metal production. 20 to 30 metal production is pretty solid for pumping out medium tanks consistently. Purple Commander apparently comfortable. Yeah, there we go. With about oh no, that was reclaim. With about half the eco that I would normally say to be super comfortable pumping out medium tanks. That is to say, if you wanted to spam out medium tanks. Of course, you can start with medium tanks. They're just very expensive, and if you lose them early on to a D-gun or something like that, oh, it can hurt badly. Janus firing their heavy impact twin heat-seeking, no, heavy ground-to-ground dual missile launcher. Oh, there's nothing about heat-seeking on there. They do lock on. They do track their targets towards those thugs right there and making very short work of them. A hound has been requisitioned. Apparently, we went for a T2 lab right here. We do have fat boys stomping their way, big stepping their way out of the laboratory here. They need a wide base in order to keep that snozzle and heavy condenser backpack up and running on the back. Oh, wow, okay, we canceled it. That's a lot of metal back into the economy right here. Okay. Anywho, blitzes, relatively uncontested. I mean, we don't have anything fast enough to shut these down. They live up to their name. They're one of the fastest assault units in the game. If not the fastest assault unit in the game. Just barely not managing to kill that metal extractor. It looks like the maces here will mostly be able to, well, with a lot of friendly fire, mostly be able to clean all this up. We do have one hero blitz that made it in the backline, and it looks like it'll snipe a bunch of these mexes. Yeah, brutal stuff. Only takes one or two of these blitzes to make it through and crack the defensive line here. Looks like the Cyan Commander did go down over here. Oh yeah, that was the trade with the Pink Commander. So again, that leaves this northern side relatively uncontested. That means you can start to push forward with giant swaths of units or those very valuable T2 units, and there's no fear about getting them D-gun, which is primarily where a T2 transition goes wrong, is if you throw away all your T2 units to a D-gun, then suddenly you've lost thousands and thousands of metal to the enemy's, well, 500 energy worth of D-gun. Medium tank discovers a T2 lab here for the red commander. It will be the primary target, as you can see all of the units for the green commander making their way northward here. Yellow commander is under the protection of Don Gilbert Bystander, the tank commander with a grudge. Or very defensively positioned rattlesnake here. I'd love to see that up on the front line maybe, but in-base rattlesnake, not bad I suppose if there's a swarm, but I don't think this will find very much value throughout this game. T2 Mex is coming up here as well, and this match, for all intents and purposes, looks over.
Destroyed.
This is a, oh, that was a beautiful connection up on this northern side. I didn't even see it because I didn't realize the commander had strayed so far forward. But it looks like the orange commander died on the front line with a whole bunch of those assault units. I think there were maces up here. And all of a sudden, the entire composition is gone. Anyway, back to the base in the backline here. Fiends rolling out of the T2 lab. This wasn't punished super hard. Now the Fiends are going to be able to eventually clean up a bunch of these units. They do tons of damage, and especially against the T1 units, they really don't stand a chance. The Fiends will eventually melt them down. But already this backline's been cleared out. I mean, look at this. Medium tanks. Blitz died of its own ambitions here as it killed that metal extractor, but another one is still headed into the back. Oh, that's a medium tank unit. Okay. This is great. I mean, this is fabulous gameplay here from the blue commanders. Making the most out of every opportunity, pushing through every lane that was won to do a bunch of damage in the backline. Now they've got a distinct advantage for the rest of this game. For now, about a 15 to 16% advantage, more or less here, both on metal and energy, so overall, just a huge advantage. Metal production is slightly in favor of the blue team at 5% total. I don't feel like that number tells the whole story here, though. Fiend's one of the few units that I feel like can semi-successfully clean up medium tanks. Fat Boy and Hounds and all the rest of it handed over here eventually to the Tan Commander. As these units get ready to engage on the front line here, I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more diversity in this composition. Going for welders, maybe even sharpshooters at some point. We are getting these T2 Mexes up, and it's super important we do it. 8 metal per second. Very, very valuable. Bunch of walls have been set up over here. We have the construction bot. I wouldn't mind seeing it reclaim this commander corpse. It's also one of 2 commanders available, or well, one of, I guess, theoretically 3 commanders available here. In other words, the red team down to just 2 commanders. It would be nice to resurrect those as a little bit of a backup, but the blue team in an even more precarious position at just 1 commander, so I suppose they're really the ones in danger. They are probably eager to resurrect any of these commanders that they can find. And I don't know if there's many left. Most of them have been reclaimed. There's 2 here, and then there was the 3 up north, so that's 5 of the 10 commanders in this game total. Lightning tank's pretty good. Fiends Just barely good enough to go up against them. Just cheap enough, I guess is what I really should say. You can produce enough fiends at their cost to effectively go up against these. Fatboy here doing a great job, though, at 9 kills total. Wouldn't be surprised if it sees a whole lot more. Rattlesnake nearly completed. More Fatboys rolling off the line, and the T2 mexes continue rolling up here. T1 units being thrown away. You know I hate to see this. This is one of those things that I think in Beyond Horizon is going to eventually become essentially non-existent. Throwing away T1 units like this rather than just recycling them at your build power. It's one of those really easy things to do. You just queue these units back, you just hold Control, and then hit tilde, and that'll remove them from the auto group. Not every of that unit, but just the ones you have selected from that auto group. So it means you can select all these, remove them from the auto group, send them back to your backline, and they'll just wait there. And then you can reclaim them at your leisure, and it's a free, I don't know, usually a couple thousand metal worth of T1 units that you can enjoy. It's worth it, I promise you it is. 2,000 metal worth of T1 units is much better spent as 2,000 metal worth of T2. Well, flamethrower turret taking a beating here. Rockets soaring right overhead as the rocket spiders do make their way forward on this line. I wouldn't mind seeing backing these up maybe and going ahead and blasting down this wall. Getting it out of the way is super important. We can also reclaim it. That's one of those things that a lot of folks might not know. You can actually reclaim those walls extremely easily. They have a very, very low build cost, so even the lightest of constructors can really effectively reclaim those. Whole bunch of Banshee gunships in the air is kind of interesting to see. The blue team is the one on one commander, so it's a bit odd to see that they're trying to target these commanders down. Where's the other one? There it is. Gilbert Bystander, the tan commander right here. I don't mind the Banshees, though. They're not terrible. They're alright for cleaning up littler run-bys, but as soon as heavy tanks, or really anything heavier than medium and light units comes out, they're not going to find very much more effect. Fatboy doing what it does best. Shooting fat globules all over every one of these pawns in a wide AoE and doing tons and tons of damage. Little Sheldon ball built up down here. It looks like we have a grand total of 8 Sheldons. Enough to start being super pesky. Not enough that it wins the game, though. This is certainly quite counterable. Well-placed Spybot or maybe an EMP missile. Even just a whole bunch of sprinters or fiends can basically shut this down at this point. Once you get up to 20, sometimes 30 of those Sheldon... Oh, Fatboy, actually not bad either. Once you get up to enough of those Sheldon, they can be quite difficult to stop, but for the time being anyway, they're alright. AA bot produced and sent up to the front line here. I guess we're just a little bit cautious about the state of those gunships that have still been up in the air for quite some time. Being able to defend yourself remotely against those is quite useful. We're going to go for the Resurrect. Okay. This is what I figured. If you're not going to eat it up immediately, then the only other option is to resurrect it. I really think we should break this wall down, though. Another lovely thing you could use those resbots for. Again, reclaiming the wall. I love that bar has so much depth that it's shall we say, it's very, very easy to learn a new control every time you watch a game. You will still be finding, I mean, I've been playing this game for years. I still learn new controls all the time. And I think that's wonderful. Again, with the T1 units moving in, at this point, they will at the very least find a little bit of value before they're torn asunder by the Fat Boys. Firing away into the distance. Beautiful, for sure. Give me one more shot, and there we go. Those aggravators want nothing to do with that. They're going to back off right here, and I think that's the right decision. And again, pulling these back and reclaiming them would have been the right idea here. There's about twice as many as there are now. So I'm going to say about 1,400-ish, maybe 1,500 metal worth of T1 units. Yeah, would be a lot more effective as T2. Pawn spam here is phenomenal, though. Not only wasting the shots right here of the Fat Boy, but also providing a lot of scouting for the Sheldon to move up and do a bunch of damage, do what they do best. Slowly chipping away at everything over here. A gunslinger has been brought out to the front lines. Okay. Yeah. It killed a lightning tank. Might have gotten a hit or two on the advanced metal extractor as well. Gunslinger's not really in a place right here where I feel like we could say that they're worth building. T1 Laboratory, would love to see that spamming out fiends right, or pawns right now, or even ticks. We do have big investments in the backline here. T3 Gantry coming up and running right now for the Orange Commander. A little bit of a Hail Mary play, but you can see it has tons and tons of metal just from having these mexes up and running and reclaiming a whole bunch of the metal around the map. We have the resources. Do we have the energy? Yeah, 2,000 is enough to start those lighter units. Marauder, for instance, or quite buildable at 2,000 energy. Usually we see 3 to 4,000 is kind of the baseline to get into heavier stuff like Razorbacks, or maybe even heavier like Karganeth. Or I should say heavier like Thors. Typically you go for Thors in really select missions though. Karganeth and Razorback kind of the same thing, so I guess you would, yeah, you kind of go for them around the same energy. Cortex energy is a little bit more efficient, their energy production, so it's a slightly different game, but not terribly different. Sheldon Ball's super annoying to deal with here, though. What options do you have? Well, Sumos are not a terrible option, of course, to deal with the spam, but they don't actually address the Sheldon in the room. We need some sort of counter spam here. I think a Spybot probably would have been the right decision, but the Sheldon already fire away. They take out the T2 labs, so the Sheldon are essentially uncontested. Well, there's the Fat Boy on the hill. Hey, I like this, the individual micro here on the Fat Boy, making sure that they connect in as big of an AoE as possible. It will be enough, it looks like, to scare back these Sheldon. Okay. One hero pawn has made it through. Red Commander in trouble. Kind of. Actually, a little bit distracting here. Yeah, these Fiends. Ooh, self-D. Can we get a self-D? Ah, no self-D in the Fiend. Looking for that juicy self-destruct connection. Commander was in a little bit of trouble, but it looks like... Oh, okay, it's actually headed towards the units over here. Oh, all right. Killer Deacon right there. Does blow up most of the Sheldon. The Commander goes down, but you know what? I suppose we resurrected the one on this northern side here. There he is. Morigi, the Orange Commander, resurrected this one. So a fair trade, I suppose. Marauder had been built up, and we are indeed getting into Razorback, which is not bad. Razorback, very, very powerful, and a very effective anti-spam weapon. Actually, I wouldn't mind seeing this sent down south just to shut down all this spam. This is costing loads and loads of metal per second right here for the Green Commander. If we could eliminate all this without really having to trade that much metal, it would be a huge, huge help to the red team right now, who pretty much need every efficiency they can get. They're falling behind economically, not by a giant margin, but at least by metal, they're certainly losing quite a lot per second right now. Yeah, this is a dangerous looking army. We've got the Arbiters, we've got the Bulls, we've got 4 different colors all working in unison right here. That's what we like to see. I mean, that is teamwork making the dream work. Neither team wanting to reclaim commanders at this point. You can see the resurrection marks as they're trying to put that commander back up on his feet. We do have the tick spam down here, which is kind of interesting. Up against this many spam, or this much spam for so long, it's really curious to me that we'd see rocket spiders. They're really not an ideal anti-spam unit. Welders or maybe sprinters would probably be better suited to the job. At this point, it hardly matters. At least for the blue team. They're happy with the efficiency they've got. If you know, whatever trade they have to take to continue pushing the line, even if it's inefficient, they feel like it's the right move here. But all of a sudden, there's going to be a big scare. Does the Beholder see this? Oh, it just barely doesn't. I don't think this Beholder actually saw that. The perimeter camera here, not even cloaked, didn't see the T3 units, and all of a sudden they pop up in the base. Oh, no. That is an unfortunate moment right here for the Cyan Commander, not realizing all of a sudden there was going to be a handful of T3 units making their way across. Not only the Razorback sent across aggressively, but also the Marauder sent across to try and kill this base. They actually didn't kill the base. One of them will be peeled off to kill the laboratory. We need to go snipe the build power, I believe. Razorback will be more than enough on its own here to clean this base up, though. Pitbull will be set up. I don't think it's going to last very long. Oh, if the Razorback fires at it. There we go. Ooh, maybe. There we are. We do need to focus those static defenses down. Fusion reactors are a great target, though. Marauder continuing to rampage through the backline as well. Cyan base not safe yet. The Razorback still rotating around. Ooh, and it will kill the laboratory. What a bummer right there for the blue commander. Oh, and the lab's actually fully destroyed too, so no resurrection available at this point. Aphis going to be sniped right here. Won't even leave a wreck either. That's 8,000 metal of that 9,000 metal project vaporized into thin air. What a scramble. The Orange Commander making huge plays at the very last minute, just before the trigger is pulled and the units are sent across the way. The red base is left in shambles as the T3 units devastate the main production centers here. The main nerve centers of the blue team are taken out, but it does leave a gaping hole in the entirety of the red team. How are we going to address this? Well, T3 units are not a bad start. Welders were eventually produced, and it's very good to see they're going to be ideal against these ticks. They're not even really bad against anything else, though. Even the bulls, which do quite a lot of damage, the welders just have enough armor plating to stand up against, and we have units leaking into the backline. I'd love to see these cleaned up here. We do have the fusions up and running as well, which is very nice. Producing a whole bunch of energy right here. Another round of marauders. Eventually this is all cleaned up, and I love to see these res bots. Isn't that just wonderful? Eating up the thousands and thousands of metal from these bases right here. We have build power finally being restarted for the blue commander, trying to rebuild what they can. Razorback has actually been resurrected, so that's huge. That does offer some kind of a defense. In combination with the Starlights, it looks like it will just barely be enough. Okay. One Marauder heading up in that direction wouldn't be the end of the world here, but it looks like it's going to actually head towards the backline. No static defenses were ever set up here on this little island, so it will have a pretty peaceful time making its way through here. The Marauder right through the front door, though, will manage to kill all the build power. And the Constructor? Can we snipe the Constructor? The last remaining Constructor of the blue commander. There we go. Hero Marauder in the backline, tearing apart wind turbines, tearing apart whatever he can. That was a close call. The red team just barely managing to get into the backline and do enough damage in time to actually stop the huge push that was coming right down the midsection of the map right now. T2 Constructor in trouble. It has its repair entourage. They actually keep it up and running, okay. Eventually, I think it does fall, yeah. And all this will be cleaned up. Not the end of the world here. Love that the blue commander was grabbing these mexes. They probably produced their value at this point. They're very, very efficient. But all of a sudden the red team... you know what? The blue team has the production. I think it's all this wind power on the southern side. Yeah, you know what? When that wind speed is high, this wind power can be super useful. E-Converter is also quite nice for taking that wind power and turning it into metal. Yeah, the blue team really, or the red team really is left with basically nothing in their backline. They don't have enough energy to reclaim or to resurrect all this. Bunch of metal extractors are down. Loads of the energy production has fallen here as well. Basically, every fusion reactor was popped. We need to see these fusions resurrected right here. The blue team's been way more adamant about keeping that energy production up and running. You can see we've got fusion reactors starting up right here for the purple commander. We had the fusions over here that were available for the blue commander. I'd love to see the resbots trying to eat some of this up, but I guess there is a nice defense from the blue com. And now T3 are rolling out. Okay, this is a dangerous moment here. All of a sudden, retaliatory T3 units have been made. Now what this means is that the blue team is in a little bit of a conundrum. They can either send these units to defend against the T3 on the north, or they can use these units aggressively to try and break the line further, spiraling this game back towards the Stone Age. Do we have the resbots to follow this up? Oh, I'd love 2 or 3 resbots just to eat up as much of this as possible. The blue commander pulling the forces back in full retreat, just trying to keep whatever they can alive. The Razorbacks are going to make very short work of the remainder of this base, though. Not to mention all the units that were surrounding it. Well, Mammoth is kind of annoying. The Mammoth is killable here, but it's going to take a minute for these Razorbacks to chew through it, and it is valuable seconds bought for the blue team to respond. Resbot's actually sent to repair the Mammoth. Yeah, Razorbacks turn around. They don't even want to deal with it. Can we please reclaim this base? We were doing so well about it earlier. Oh no, we're not even bothering. We're just sending these units right on across. Nuclear missile 60% of the way completed. Green commander trying to just send the T3 full send directly across the map lengthwise towards the orange production center. Was the defending Razorback? Yeah, it was brought low. Okay, where are the resbots? So disheartened to see the lack of resbots right here from the orange commander, who was absolutely on top of it earlier. Now has so much T3 and air and all this other stuff to micro, has forgotten the most essential part of this push. Leave no trace. Like taking a walk through the beautiful redwood forests. Leave no trash behind. Clean up all your enemy's metal. Razorbacks. I mean, all the static defense in the world up here is going to make it difficult for, or is still not going to make it difficult for the Razorbacks to push through. Razorbacks are quite daunting. Effectively a burst fire unit, although not spread out even the slightest right now, which is a blunder. Eventually cleaning all this up. Yeah, we needed to have these fanned out nicely. These were 3 in a row right here. They would crack these defenses near instantly, but they just weren't. Beamer turrets have been set up. Okay, I mean the blue player is set into a containment field. Marauders in the backline, still tearing apart whatever they can. And this is highly effective. Little poking squads to try and break through little tiny areas, little strategic strike points. Eventually cleaned up here nicely. Luckily, 1 build turret stays up and running. We do have a few more over here, but it will be able to reclaim all this metal right now, which is going to be nice for the pink commander, sending more and more of these units forward. At this point, though, you really just got to hope and pray and try and support your T3 commander, hoping that it's enough. I wouldn't have minded 1 Razorback just chilling out over here. We're sending them back right now because they're all injured. T1 spam lab come up here. Marauder headed on the right course. Well, kind of. If these Marauder could head straight down south here, I think they would find all this production. It would be a huge hit. If we could pop all these wind turbines, I mean, that's basically all of the energy production. But man, the blue team has just kept those mexes up and running. We're talking about nearly double the metal production here, at least when the reclaim is high. We do have the res bots resurrecting and reclaiming whatever they can. Oh, we have a little bit of a back and forth going on. Marauder finds its way into the backline. Oh, no. We needed to kill the build power so much quicker than that. The Marauder will eventually get brought down. Very close call right there. Yeah, if the build power had been targeted, that definitely would have been a win. Not the case, though. Marauder coming in for seconds. They're very injured. Why aren't we targeting the build power? Run from it. Hide from it. The build power stays all the same. Bomber sent in. No effect. In the desperation to kill this singular fusion reactor, we've accidentally deposited several thousand metal on the precipice of the purple facility here. Oh, there it is. Hold on, let me rewind. And here we have the majestic freedom pill, delivered directly to the maw of the blue team. Heading right on over here, I backed up a few seconds to watch the nuclear launch as the entire green facility becomes the target of a thermonuclear strike. Beautiful. A beautiful connection right there for the red team as they managed to get that missile into an area that did not have any anti-nuke. Of course, in a 5v5, nukes are a little bit of a rare option. I expect to see anti-nuke coming up pretty shortly here for the entirety of the blue team. Hopefully. Relatively quickly here. No anti-nuke as of yet. I would expect a quicker reaction. At this point, though, another nuke is not quite charged. We're actually stalling on energy. So for the time being, the blue team will be safe. Are we really not going for anti-nukes? I am frankly shocked at the non-anti-nuclear nature here of the blue team. Not rushing all of them to get anti-nukes up and running. I mean, unless I'm missing it right here, there should be a giant yellow overlay where all of those anti-nukes are going to be. Did they miss it? Did the blue team miss the nuke as much as I did? All of a sudden, their entire frontline T3 production center is destroyed. I can't imagine that they missed that, but it's possible. All 5 of them. Sheldon and Shiva moving forward on the southern side. Razorback battle. Razorback, what do you call a group of Razorbacks? A Razorback swarm? A Razorback herd, perhaps? Gathering in the northern side. Sharpshooters were produced eventually here, but again, welders, welders, welders. It's what you need, it's what you want, it's what you gotta have if you want to deal with any of this T1 spam coming across the map right here. Yeah, Welder even cries out the yellow commander, who knows as well that that is effectively the only thing that's going to stop all these pawns from coming through. Ooh, commander goes down, though. That's the T2 laboratory completely destroyed. Is this missile charged? Oh, it's just about. Are we sending another one? We have already chosen a target. Where are we putting it? Oh, we've chosen a juicy location indeed. The Purple Main Command Center, the main production facility with a juicy fusion reactor right next to an advanced fusion reactor. In fact, why don't we even... I have an idea. Why don't we even watch this one in beautiful slow motion? Where is it? Oh, there it is. Hold on. I got this. Oh, the fusion reactor actually lives. It still lives through the explosion. I thought for sure the nuke plus the fusion reactor going up in smoke would be enough to kill it. But my goodness, with 1% HP, 161 health points total, the advanced fusion reactor lives. I cannot believe that. If that nuke had been an inch closer towards the advanced fusion reactor, it would have killed it, but it just barely survives. Well, okay, I mean, that's a wonderful moment there for the blue team. At the very least, it means that, yeah, they don't have to worry about 3,000 energy going down the drain. It would have further decreased their energy production down and given a huge advantage to the red team. At this point, though, the E production is basically dead even. However, loads of these metal extractors remain up and standing, and that means that the blue team has a huge metal production advantage. Shiva duking it out, but there's also supporting forces activating that flanking bonus. Wonderful for shutting down some of these tankier T3 units. Shiva not necessarily the tankiest T3 unit, but certainly relative to anything you can produce out of a T2 lab anyways, save for maybe mammoths and, to a degree, fat boys. Very, very tanky. Siege mechs. The tick spam here is hilarious as well, though. Without LLTs or Twin Guard to clean all this up, or beamer turrets to wipe up all these ticks right here, this is actually super difficult to deal with. Just 100,000 ticks sent in this direction. The Razorbacks, why have they just been chilling on this northern corner for so long? The Resbots here have really desperately wanted to repair all these back up to full health. Now they're full health. The red team has already taken so much damage. We need to fan these out. We need a wide effect to take out the APHIS, or not the APHIS, pardon me, the AMEX, the Advanced Metal Extractors, rather than a focused effect here. Charging right into the heart of Sumos. This is atrocious right here. This is not how you want to be using these units. Razorback are relatively quick. I feel like a lot of people discount how quick these units actually are. With a movement speed of 69, that is quite nice. They relatively outpace most of the other units. They're super duper quick. 4 T3. I'll put a little caveat on the end of that. That is 4 T3. Shiva, for instance, with a move speed of 48. In theory, Razorback should be kiting around Shivas like it's nobody's business. Vanguard rolling out here as well. Again, a bit of a weird option. There's not really one position to siege anymore. Is this nuke silo charged again? It sure is. Not. Where did we send the other nuke? It must have been back here. Anywho, the base is still relatively untouched. I mean, this is not a bad situation right here for the blue team. It looks a lot worse than it really is. These Razorbacks, man, they're just nothing burger Razorbacks. They've been produced. They've been wandering around like they're worth something. We are what we repeatedly do, and these Razorbacks have repeatedly done basically nothing. Yeah, I don't like it. I think these could probably win the game. Now, obviously, very easy for me. I'll say, very easy for me and us to appreciate that from the spectator's booth. Difficult when you have incomplete information to make that call when you're actually playing in this game. Still, though, a cadre of 6 Razorback is more than enough to break even the most fortified of positions. You need serious defenses to stand up to that much firepower. Laser power. Sand power. My Dune. My Razorback. And then there's the ticks, continuing to blast apart this base. Juno missiles, twin guards, more ticks. Yeah, there we go. You can notice that this base is completely untouched, and there's 4 reasons exactly why. Can you spot them? It's like Dora the Explorer. Fiends rushing their way through here. All the production was lost for the purple commanders. This base was actually left with relatively little defense. The dual lab setup, indicative of Fiend spam. One of those strategies Cortex commanders cannot get enough of, because it's good. Ooh, Fiend's trying so badly to kill that APHIS, and it stays alive again. 7% HP. Oh my goodness. Razorback's narrowly missing this blue setup on the northern side as well. Have we just gone for crazy eco back here? I mean, not insane. We've got the T2 lab, we've got the fusion up and running. It's not a crazy eco, but with all the mexes and whatnot that have been produced and that have been maintained for this entire game, there is definitely enough metal production. Well, laboratories are going to be reclaimed here. That might be a little bit of a blunder. Resurrecting those might have been the right option. Ooh, 1 hero fiend. Oh, 1 hero fiend sneaks in through the back door and manages to blow the APHIS just like that. Oh, the orange Razorbacks turn north here as well, and do manage to discover this cheeky little production outpost that was set up in the middle of the front of the cliffside here that the blue commanders inhabited for quite some time. Vanguard headed over in this direction, suddenly making quite a lot of sense. Their ability to fire up into the air and down onto the enemy makes a lot of sense. in this context, of course, going to be used to siege this base up in the cliffside. Roughnecks here are interesting. Not really an air force for the red team. Loads of T1 spam. The base is here essentially reduced to the northern corner, northeastern corner, or northwestern corner versus the southeastern corner. Beamer turret, cleaning that up quite nicely. The spam having such a tremendous effect, though. 1 or 2 Razorback on defense is all it takes to shut all this down, by the way. Pawn ball. Your newest insult for those around you that you just can't take, that you just despise. Pawn ball. Vanguard not quite in position to siege this area here. They seem a little bit confused as to what exactly is being asked of them. Auto trajectory should be firing or figuring out a targeting solution. Not plotting it properly here, though. He says he porked like a madman, but frankly speaking, this is not actually that impressive. 1 pit bull, a bunch of beamer turrets, 3 Razorbacks should pretty much clean all this up. It's just a matter of microing them properly. Pawn ball cleans up this northern side. Fiends here will blast away at all the rest of these pawns that were up on this little hillside, but they will of course be replaced by Shiva and whatnot. As the assault continues, Rage is on here. A single E-storage on the southern side. I mean, at this point, you may as well start up production again. Like, you may as well just go ahead and start grabbing these mexes. Fighters are sent on across. Laboratory in jeopardy. We're targeting the anti-nuke. That's cheeky. Targeting the anti-nuke is very, very cheeky right there, but I love it. There's not actually a lot of T3 to contest all these. All the T3 production was on this laboratory in the front. The Green Commander now finding themselves with 2 T3 labs. Not ideal, certainly. Razorback's gonna have a wonderful time cleaning all this up. Yeah, they really can just push forward. Fighters there shot down by the anti-air accompaniments. A lot of Roughnecks died. Enough of them survived to be annoying, though. Did we get the nuclear missile up in the air? I believe we're about to see it. No? Are we ready? Blue Commander's anti-nuke has been destroyed. You have to be careful. You can't really target the back here. The nuke will just smash into the wall. Can we watch it? I'm waiting for it. We have Razorbacks continuing their aggression on the southern side. Nothing to stop them again. Shiva, not going to cut it against that many Razorbacks. Oh, I want to see it, but the Razorbacks are doing such good work. At the end of the day, we got to focus on the units that are actually doing something. And this time, it's going to be the Razorbacks as they slowly creep their way forward here to take out this laboratory, popping all the production, killing metal extractors, defenses, all the rest of it. Do we send it yet? Not yet. I'm waiting. Razorbacks find their way towards the T3 lab. Long as these spread out, the Shiva aren't going to have much value against them either. They'll eventually get there. Blasting away the build power, and now the Razorbacks have free reign over the map. There is technically still a T3 lab in the back line here. Did we fire this nuke at the Green Commander? No, we've got it charged up. We're just waiting to use it. An aircon or two at times like this can be super useful as well. Just for sending those aircons out to reclaim a whole bunch of the wreckage. Surprisingly few of these units in the late game can actually hit air. Razorback's a notable exception, but like, for instance, Shiva. Not going to be able to shoot down air. So if you send out aircons, good odds that they actually live for quite a while. Certainly long enough to reclaim their value out of the front lines here. More and more Vanguard coming up is, again, a very interesting choice. I feel like going into either Titans or more Razorbacks is not a bad option. Self-D'ing these to make sure we don't leave too many corpses behind. All said and done, though, this is the first big hit of damage that I think the red team has achieved against the blue team in quite some time. Giving the blue player enough time to rebuild the anti-nuke is a bummer as well. That could have been a huge connection. Unfortunately not. Razorback here working on some of those roughnecks, actually. Okay. The blue team lives, just barely. Their metal production while reclaiming is through the roof. That's only going to last so far, though. Hey, there we go. Yeah, we got the aircon. There it is. We've got Resbots headed out. We're making the right decisions here. Yeah, they're desperately picking their orange commander. He doesn't know that it's been destroyed and rebuilt. Oh no, he targeted it with the Vanguard. He must have known. Surely he knew. He was the one who executed the command. Oh no. Oh man, Morigi, if you're out there watching this, I apologize for how badly you must be kicking yourself right now looking at this. That is a total bummer. Razorback, the hero of the pink commander, moving its way through the southern side here. We also have the mexes coming up here. Hey, lovely stuff. I love to see this, actually. A couple of constructors going out to grab the T1 mexes, rebuilding the T1 mexes. Oftentimes, it can be all you need in order to come back into a game like this. Pretty much dead even right here for both of these teams. Whoever manages to keep control over more of their map, grabbing those mexes and all that good stuff, they're going to be the one who can maintain control over a huge portion of the map. A little bit of spec cheat, but yeah, maybe a... oh. Well, I guess we're stepping back for the second time this game. And I've backed off just a minute here, so that we can watch in glorious high definition as the cradle of Armada technology pierces the heavens. Deep into the blue production center, narrowly scraping its fins on that slope right there, but does manage to blow up all of the production, all of the economy, basically everything for our blue hero. There's some wind turbines that were inherited from another commander, but nowhere near enough energy production for all of this. The Resbots trying to patch things up as well and spending a whole bunch of energy per second here. The red team, through several nuclear strikes, managing to reclaim an advantage here. We have a couple of fusion reactors. The, yeah, it looks like the Seafoam Green and the Green Commander both making some fusion reactors, but now we have the Shiva marching forward. Fighters coming in to shut down the remainder Roughnecks. And there goes all of the remaining air forces here for the blue team. And there it is. The resign vote is called. The blue team knows that they're beat. And with a very, very close call, the red team just barely manages to hold on long enough, capture enough metal extractors, and pump out enough units with some strategic strikes to claim the victory. What a back and forth battle between these guys, and it's why I love watching the pros play so much. And if you enjoyed, of course, feel free to like and subscribe. Join the Brightworks community down below by hitting that bell icon, and I sure hope to see you in the next game of Beyond No Reason. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day, folks.